Hello, my friend, and welcome to Pro Wrestling Daily. My name is Aaron Machbitz. WWE and TNA have announced a multi-year partnership. This is amazing for the world of professional wrestling, for the wrestlers and the fans, right? First, we have WWE joins Netflix. Now we have this partnership between WWE and TNA, which could create more exposure, more superstars, better wrestling. The whole thing is incredibly amazing. I mean, TNA has produced some of the biggest stars that wrestling has ever seen. We know that AJ Styles and Samoa Joe really cut their teeth there and became superstars before moving on to other things. You know, AJ Styles still in WWE right now. He's injured and going through some challenging injuries, but hopefully he comes back soon. We just saw Samoa Joe return to AEW. I mean, those guys are absolute superstars. So we know that Kurt Angle spent some time there. Sting spent some time there. Another superstar that was produced by TNA Wrestling is Jay Lethal, who I think is one of the best in the world. He spent a lot of time also in ROH. Now does some stuff with AEW. I mean, a lot of superstars there in TNA Wrestling. Now in the current product, I have a lot of friends at TNA Wrestling. One mainly being Ace Austin, who I think is the best wrestler on the roster. Again, I'm telling you that he's my friend, and I'm telling you that I'm biased, but I also think he's one of the best performers on that roster, and him getting to partner with WWE, potentially work with some NXT superstars and get his hands on, or some of the trainers get his hands on him and elevate his game even more, because his presentation, his physique, his charisma, his in-ring ability is fantastic. That's Ace Austin, one of the best. So I'm pumped about the WWE and the TNA partnership. We'll get to the PWI results in a little bit, but spoiler, Jordynne Grace, one of the best in the world, had one of the best 2024s in professional wrestling, and she's on sort of all of the PWI lists. She's also in TNA, so those women's matches could be incredible. We know that, Dolph Ziggler, currently known as Nick Nemeth, is the champion in TNA Wrestling, but I think Joe Henry will beat him on Sunday at TNA Genesis. That show is on January 19th in Dallas. You have TNA Genesis times WWE NXT. They just announced that after they announced the partnership. I think Joe Henry is awesome. Could beat Nick Nemeth, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler. I mean, the partnership is just incredible. Let me read you some of the press release that they sent out. The agreement will enable talent to garner additional exposure across key WWE and TNA programming, including weekly flagship shows such as NXT, which airs live on the CW, and TNA Impact. Select WWE premium live events and TNA pay-per-views in terms of bolstering their in-ring development and exposure to world-class talent and coaching. I mean, we know the Hardy Boys are in TNA. We could see them back in WWE. Jeff Hardy was talking about wanting to feud with CM Punk. That could potentially happen. I mean, there's just so many different ways you can go with the plethora of talent you have with WWE and NXT and TNA Wrestling. The only thing that's an issue is that when there is so much talent, not everyone can get the spots. Not everyone can get the matches, the marquee matchups, the great storylines. So it does leave people out, and that is sad because it's not a reflection of the person's talent, how they get booked. Sometimes it's not the right timing, not the right place. There's certain situations that just don't work out. I mean, we see that with what's going on in NXT, in AEW with Malakai Black, right? Formerly known as Aleister Black in NXT. We all know that in NXT, that was his best presentation. And this is sort of what's happening when I was mentioning about, the booking, and he's not happy and feeling burnt out. But there's potential rumors that he might come back to WWE, and some influential people in WWE see him as a top star. And again, his presentation in NXT was incredible. He was a top star in NXT. And now could that transfer over to the main roster with Triple H at the helm now with that sort of vibe? Potentially. But not everything that you book works out. We know that all the time. Fans are very open about what works and what doesn't. But what does work is really incredible. And so Black has this potential move to WWE. While there were rumors of his retirement or just departure from AEW, Black has publicly addressed these, clarifying his stance without confirming any exit. The wrestling community does remain divided on his past performances and his attitude, but WWE's interest suggests that there's a belief in his ability to thrive in this new environment. And we know that he's actually a damn pro. He's put together some amazing, fantastic matches, some with Adam Cole, his run in AEW with House of Black, all these sorts of things. But there are rumors that, he refused to lose and he didn't build rapport with Tony Khan and all these sorts of things. And, you never know if they're 100% true, but there has to be some merit to these discussions because he wants to leave, because he's felt burnt out, because he hasn't been presented as well as he thinks he should have. But again, in NXT, that was his best presentation, and maybe he goes back there to NXT or to the main roster, becomes Aleister Black again and has the run that he feels like he deserves. And then I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but we have the PWI results. The PWI results are Pro Wrestling Illustrated. They're pretty cool. Sometimes wrestlers, especially on the independents, get a little bit about, if they're in the PWI 500. But I still think people think they're legit fans, really buy into this stuff. And I think it's cool to have sort of a ranking system, even though wrestling is very subjective and it's not 100% real, but there is an amount of skill and talent you have to have that makes you a little bit better than someone else. The way you execute, the way you connect with the fans, your promos, your ability to move in the ring, your ability to have matches with many different people, how much money you draw in, the merch you sell. All of these things sort of matter in terms of being the best in the world at what you do. And PWI came out with the Women of the Year, and Toni Storm won that award. No surprise. She's fucking incredible. And she just has the ability to, really connect with what she's doing, believe in what she's doing, and her in-ring ability is incredible as well. So you have that sort of combination, which probably makes her one of the best, women's wrestlers on the planet. I think pound for pound, just as a pro wrestler, Io Sky is the best in the world. But as a character, as an entertainer, and as a wrestler, which is really what you need to be a sports entertainer and to get over on TV, Toni Storm is there. Liv Morgan comes in second. Rhea Ripley comes in third. And someone who I just mentioned who's, coming over with the TNA WWE deal is Jordynne Grace. And then some other people who are mentioned as terms of, the best women of 2024, the PWI Women of the Year. You have Mercedes Moné, Roxanne Perez, big fan. You have Athena, also a big fan, and Willow Nightingale, also a big fan. I mean, you have 8, professional wrestlers there that really, really, really had a fantastic year. And of course, they deserve all of the praise from PWI. And then you move into what looked like the PWI Wrestler of the Year. No surprise here that Cody Rhodes, 42%, wins this award, then Gunther, then Will Ospreay, and then Bryan Danielson, and other people that sort of were mentioned in the PWI Wrestler of the Year were Roman Reigns, Swerve Strickland, love Swerve, what a fucking performer he is, Jon Moxley, Damian Priest, and like I mentioned, had an amazing year, really, really cool. Jordynne Grace was also in the voting for PWI Wrestler of the Year for the work she did this year in TNA Wrestling. And so Cody Rhodes wins the PWI Wrestler of the Year. He also wins Most Popular Wrestler of the Year and Inspirational Wrestler of the Year. So Cody Rhodes sort of takes home all of the awards, but it's his year. You saw Paul Heyman, we've seen The Rock talk about Cody Rhodes as the face of WWE, carrying the company for the last year as the babyface. He's a workhorse. He does all the interviews, the promos. Even on his off days, he works the house shows, he does matches. He does everything he can to be an absolutely fighting champion, to put over WWE, to be the face of the company. And of course, he's recognized as that. He's over as a babyface. His sort of 2-year Finish the Story thing was an incredible piece of storytelling and narrative that the fans bought into. And so, of course, he's the Wrestler of the Year, the most popular Wrestler of the Year, and very inspirational Wrestler of the Year, as his sort of career trajectory has been very interesting, from Cody Rhodes, where he had the face mask and the dashing type of thing, and he was carrying around the bag and he didn't really know his identity, and then moves to something else with Randy Orton and Ted DiBiase, and then, he has the Stardust gimmick, and then he goes to AEW and tries to make that something incredible, and I think he did a great job there. Then comes back to WWE because that's really his home and he wants to finish the story. And then he does finish the story, and now he's been sort of the consummate professional babyface for the last year, carrying the company, and he takes home all the awards as a reward He takes home all of the awards as a reward for all of his hard work. And I think we should always, as my buddy Richard Holiday says, we should always give people their flowers, especially when they're doing great work, amazing work right in front of our eyes. And Cody Rhodes is doing that. All the other wrestlers listed are doing that. Tony Storm, Jordan Grace, all of these people. And so that makes the WWE TNA partnership even that much cooler to see what great shit we'll get out of it. And so I think that's all I got for you today. Thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. And I'll see you for the next one. Cheers.